can't hear. If this ain't on, she can't hear us. But we'll work through it.
We are good.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to our regularly scheduled board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we would like to start with saying our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, just as a reminder, if anyone needs to sign in, there's a sign-in sheet here at the door. We're having a little technical difficulty here, so sorry for the pause. At this time, Mr. Saylor, are there any revisions to the agenda?
No, we're good to go with the agenda. There's no change.
Okay. So we'd like to get started tonight with our recognitions. We'll turn it over to Mr. Saylor.
Okay. As you know, every January is pretty much our board recognition month, and I don't know that everybody realizes sometimes, you know, if you really think that being a school board member is some glamorous position, we know that, or at least, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can mute myself here with that.
Yeah, the problem is, yeah, go ahead. No.
That's easy, sorry. Jeremy, if you want to come and get her back on this. But, you know, you guys and Tammy, you and Carrie are getting ready to find this out as well, that, you know, there's a lot of hard work that goes into being a board member. A lot of people that sometimes they don't really understand the role of the board members, and y'all sometimes have to put up with a lot of stuff. But, you know, it's a needed position. As we discussed at our last meeting, the roles of a school board member and how important it is to our school district, because you oversee the budget, you deal with policies and procedures within the school district. You're responsible for hiring and evaluating the superintendent. And there's a lot of people that don't understand. They're going to come to you guys with things that, honestly, that's not part of your purview. There's nothing you can really do about it. All you can do is listen and say, listen, I'll talk to Mr. Saylor. We'll figure it out. We'll try to help you any way we can, but sometimes you're asked to do things that you just can't do anything about. But I'm very appreciative for the fact that you guys are with us. Very appreciative for new members that are willing to serve. And we just want to take this time across the state, the entire state. This month is January Recognition Month, and I just want to, and we do this a little bit different than normally, but because we're here tonight and we have to sort of social distance, I want to recognize each one of y'all with a certificate of appreciation. As a partner in the lives of students you serve and the community you're working to improve, the Kentucky School Boards Association is pleased to honor each and every one of you. And of course, we got Donna Isford, our chair. Miss Donna, I'll give you an elbow pump.
Thank you.
And Mr. Brian Covey is our vice chair. And same thing,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. I'll come around this way. Miss Sheila, we appreciate you for what you do. Elbow. And also, Miss Amy, appreciate you. And Carrie, I'll give you a virtual bump. And I also honored Summer tonight. I sent Summer everything. She must not be able to be with us. But we appreciate her as our student representative, and Rebecca, we can make sure that Carrie gets that one. So again, I know there's not many of us here, but I think our board members do deserve a little round of applause. And one other thing before we leave, I didn't put it on the agenda, but we have a lady with us tonight that has been around here since 1988, and this is our last board meeting. And we want to recognize Felicia as she's retiring, and she's been basically the administrative secretary to the board pretty much that entire time, for a long time. And we're very appreciative of her as she's entering into her last week next week. She'll be retiring effective February 1st. But I felt like it was appropriate. She's been here. We know what our employees think of her and the job that she's done for this school district. And you know, sometimes people think, well, what's her position got to do with students? The support that she has provided for the employees of this school district, not just the employees, they know that when they retire, they've been able to come back to her. And she's provided great customer service, not only to our current employees, our new employees that are being hired, but also our retirees. So since 1988 to 2021, and this says the Estill County Board of Education is proud to recognize Felicia Campbell for her dedicated service and commitment to the students of Estill County, 1988 to 2021. And Felicia, I'm going to ask you to come up and accept this, and we'll get you online. We love you, and we're going to miss you.
Hey Felicia, can you turn around? Let's get a picture.
We'll get a picture this way.
Get one a little closer. All right, thank you.
Now this way. Okay, good.
We appreciate you, and
Greatly.
you'll definitely be missed.
And I can attest to being retired and calling her or texting her or emailing her about the insurance changes or whatever, or other issues that I might have. She's always been there.
Okay.
That's,
All right, well, moving right along, we have school and nutrition activity report.
and I think you have that here in front of you. Belinda, of course, this is pretty straightforward. This is our yearly report. It's our 2020 report card for our nutrition and physical activity. It's a requirement of the food service program. And you can see all the information that's there. If you currently, you can see in terms of just the school lunch program and the statistics that are involved with the school lunch program, and then also the school breakfast program. And then, of course, the nutritional analysis of our meals, what we're expected to serve in terms of our meals and the requirements that are on each of those meals. And then there's also the safety, the health aspect of that as well, that each school is expected to meet certain requirements by SBDM policy. They have to have mandatory physical activity within their classrooms. So you do have this tonight that you can look at, and it was already posted to the website for you to review. So I don't know if you have any questions. We can always direct those to Belinda if you have questions. If not, and you feel comfortable with that, it's just a report that you all have to approve. You have to accept the report.
Okay, so Miss Belinda does a fabulous job, and we appreciate everything that she does. Do we have a motion to accept this report?
I make the motion.
Okay, and we have a second. All right, all in favor? And did you get Carrie's vote?
Carrie?
Yeah.
Jeremy, can you speak to her back there?
Yeah, hold on a second, let me get on the.
If you don't care, and that way we won't interrupt the feed up here.
Uh-huh.
If you can give us a verbal rating.
Basically on the nutrition report, Carrie.
Terry, if you look on the top right, you should see what looks like some symbols, and to the left of that symbol is another symbol. Two places to the right at the time. If you click there, you can type in an answer. That way, if you want to just type in your yes or no vote, you can just type it in there. We'll acknowledge it. I think we're getting, because she's got us on speakerphone, I think we're getting an audio. What's that now? Now we can't hear you. If you all will notice on the screen, she has posted yes.
Okay.
Good deal.
I'll bring that up there real quick, that way if there's any doubt, anybody can use it. Yes.
No, that's okay. You can monitor it, and that's fine.
Okay.
So we'll record her as a yes vote. Thank you.
Anytime you want to vote, you can just type it in there. That way we'll get this out of the way.
Okay. So we're moving along. We have facilities and construction update, and we like to start with the Area Technology Center.
Is there a mic or you'll need this, mic just off here? That way they can read. All right, my name is Jeremy Faulkner. For the new board members, I'm the construction manager for Codell. I'm in charge of the ATC project. And just a quick update, we had a good monthly management meeting today with Peter and his group, and Mr. Saylor. I'll just kind of go through Area A and Area B like I have been to give you all an update. So Area B is the one, this is the building that has the brick on it. If you've been up there, it's the one that's the most finished right now. And in that building currently, we are looking to wrap up all MEP related work by 2/19, that's February 19th. We want to get conditioned air in there by March 8th, and that frees us up on our finishes. And we look to have that intern clean and punch list, which means that we're out of there and Mr. Settler can take over, start moving the equipment in. We look to have that final punch on 5/24/21. Now that's Area B. Area A, where we're just now got the roof installed this week. The light weight is down. We'll start putting the fleece on next week and get that dried in. And that releases our second floor MEP to start. And we look to wrap up that above ceiling inspection on April 1st is what our target is. And so you'll see going forward, Area A will start the brick. We'll start doing the glass windows and pretty much like you see on the metal panels. And then we'll work our way over to the pedway. And the pedway will get its roof right after Area A. We'll jump over there and get the roof on that and start knocking that out. Now, our go for the upcoming month, not including what I just talked about, but we look to jump over to the Pedway Tower. That's our kind of our critical path right now, because we want to get the block started on over there near the existing high school and start getting that out of the ground, going vertical, so we can complete that. You will also see that going on in conjunction with Area A. So Our substantial completion date as it stands right now is 6/4. That is, we can get our temporary CO and turn it over to Mr. Saylor, but our final completion date right now is July 7th, which is a target that we talked about at the beginning of construction, turning it over to Mr. Saylor by the 1st of July, so he can start moving his equipment in, get his teachers ready and amped up for the school year 2021, August 2021. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But that's all I have for the construction update on the ADC.
Still estimated at about 65% right now
Yes, sir.
complete.
Wow,
Make great progress.
that's
on it.
exciting. Yeah.
They've had very few weather days. It just so happened the weather's been occurring at night. So by about 8 o'clock, they're able to work.
Yep.
Right.
So they've really been able to get the work schedule in. I think they had one weather day last month, and you think about all the snow and everything
Yeah,
else.
that's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I think we have 14 total for a 2-year project.
Yeah.
That's
And
huge.
35 of those was last
Right.
spring.
Last spring, so yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy for Kentucky.
I've been hearing a lot of positive comments. People take drives because they don't have anything else to do, and they come out by there, and every week I have people tell me, wow, it's really coming along really fast. So, good job.
Thank you. I think Mr. Saylor had a.
And don't forget my blue engineer sign on the walkway. Can't you just see it, Brian?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
There you go. But just so everybody else will know, just a couple other updates. We had BCTC here this week. And of course, as you know, they've signed an MOA with us that they will be offering classes for adult learners and for displaced workers. And we've got another follow-up meeting with them. I believe it's this coming Thursday. So they're gearing up and on board to meet the challenge. I met with KDE this past week, branch manager, about we're in the process of getting ready to post the principal's job. Should be posted here sometime mid-February, early March. So we'll start looking to hire a principal, and just as soon as we do that, you'll start seeing equipment ordered. That's why it's important Jeremy can get us one of those labs where we can start bringing equipment in, because there'll be some lead times on some of the equipment, so we'll be ordering that pretty quick. So KD's working with us. I've talked to Senate A&R this week. And of course, as you know, the operational budget was approved last year in the 2-year budget, but they only passed a 1-year budget. So it is on their radar. Senator Stivers and Senator Storms, there in the Senate, are really looking out for the operational funding for this project. I feel confident that it's going to be there. KDE feels confident that it's going to be there. This is a huge project. This is not just a Estill County project, as you all know. This is Estill County, this is Powell County, this is the surrounding counties. As long as there's room for enrollment, students from other counties are going to be able to attend this facility as well. And just remember about the economic impact that this will have on the 50-mile radius of this bluegrass region. Now, I know some of our older folks, they like to say we're in the mountains, but in terms of economic development, we're in the bluegrass ad. So it is a huge project out there, and everybody's really excited about it. EDA reimbursements is coming again. Work Ready Skills Initiatives reimbursement. We're not going to have no problem funding the remainder of the construction. 2 dates to mark. March 14th is the Masonic dedication, the cornerstone laying of that facility. And we've got that scheduled, and Jeremy and them are ready. We just got to nail down a couple of details. And as of right now, we've set July the 23rd. That's a Friday at 1 p.m. That is the grand opening. That is what we're communicating to our Senate and congressional leadership in Washington, along with our legislative leadership and the governor's office here in Kentucky. So that is our date. That's why Jeremy and Kenny and Peter and them, they're holding them to a firm schedule. So I think that is the update on the tech center.
We have pay application number 17 that needs approval.
Yes, and that is in the amount of, as you've seen it there on your document, this month it is $767,205.44. It's been reviewed by the architect and by the construction manager, and it is my recommendation we pay that application.
We have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second? Okay. We have first and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
We need no carrier response. Carrier, if you can type in the response to approving the pay application number 17. Can you hear us, Gary?
She can't hear us. I don't know, we're just having really major difficulties with trying to. I don't know what happened between this afternoon when her computer mic was working and now it's not.
She said as soon as I find the screen again, that I'll know, yes. Carrie, if you look on the top right of your screen, there is the couple of icons. Look to the left of the triangle, square, and circle, and you will see the chat window. If you click there, that's when you can open it up and do a chat.
Okay, so with her vote, you have a unanimous vote.
So motion carries. So next on the agenda, we have approval of change order number 9.
Yeah, there's 3 change orders there, and Jeremy, if you don't care to sort of walk us through those, we have there, Peter, either one, it's 9.6 with Conley Painting, 14-4 with CKSM, and then we got 901-4 with Babcon.
Yeah, so PR 12 was for CO 14-4. It included the boiler makeover. We had to upgrade the hydronics on the boiler. 14-4 also included existing electrical and plumbing. That's we had condensate line that was in the existing high school coming out that we had a demo. Didn't get caught in the plans, so that was a change order for that. And then 901-4 was for electrical. So PR 14 was electrical. That was for Cat 6 additional for 8 rooms. It didn't have. I think they added. Do you know that electrical?
I believe that's.
Yeah, it was for the Cat 6.
68
Yeah,
classrooms.
yeah, 8 of them. Yeah, sorry. And then 901-4 for the Babcon electric was also for existing electric that was outside the existing high school where the Pedway Tower is gone. We had to demo some lights that were there. That was unforeseen there. And then change order 9-6 was for added circuits. It's PR 17. That was also for additional Cat 6 and Conley Painting had to paint the conduit before it went up the wall because we already had our first coat on. So Conley Painting painted those on the ground for the electrician before we put them up there. And
I think that concludes all of the PRs and change orders. If you have any other questions about them, I'll be glad to answer.
And if you all look, those attachments are included on the side. I mean, you can just click on them and pull those attachments up to review.
We've reviewed those. Peter and I reviewed them the other day after they had came back from Codell, and it's my recommendation that we approve those all in one motion. I believe the total, trying to see what the total was for all of them. You remember that amount, Jeremy?
I don't want to misspeak, I think it was
It's a little bit
23,000
under,
maybe.
it's right at 24,000. One for Conley Painting was 520, CKSM was 9,000, and then Badcon was 13,500. So it's just a little bit under $24,000. We've had very few change orders, guys, on this project so far.
It's
So
been
it's
tight.
went
Pretty
really
impressive,
good.
yeah.
It's been tight.
We, even today, we were talking about, there's not been one instance where there's been a back charge on this project from a contractor. So overall, it's been a good, it's just been a good, clean project so far. So my recommendation is that we approve those 3 change orders. Again, it's $24,000 and some change. I don't see them added up here, but that's my recommended
Okay, do we have a motion? We have a second. So all in favor? Any opposed?
Let's vote. She voted yes.
Okay, so we're moving along to the bus garage. We have an update.
Great. Thank you. I'm Peter Fisher with Ross Tarrant. For those of you that haven't gotten used to seeing me every month, and I will give you an update on the Estill County Bus Garage project. Most of you know you have a functioning facility that has approved occupancy from the state, which is great. The contractor is working through some final completion items and work lists. We have punch list completion going on, and the site punch was actually done this past weekend here, and the list is expected to go to the contractor this week. The front gate has been an issue for a while. I did get an update from Michael today, and he expects work on the front gate as early as next week. So hopefully we will see the post getting installed next week on that. The pay application that you're looking at this evening and considering this evening shows 97% completion, and I anticipate project closeout, if not next month, certainly by early March. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about the project.
And that closeout could be weather determined, guys, because a lot of the punch list is going to be site, and we know that you can't get a dozer and a backhoe and stuff up there in a mud pile, even though the buses, the blacktop's down, they're not in the mud or anything, but it's hard to work in dirt during the winter. So, I mean, we've sort of got an aggressive timeline to try to close it completely out by March, but in all honesty, if we're June, that's not going to be a huge deal at this point. We just want to make sure everything's right. I do appreciate Michael and his work on the gate. We've really went back and forth on the gate on several things, just some things that just wasn't acceptable. I know Michael went above and beyond trying to get the right fit for that gate, and he found it. And so that's a very important part of the project, where drivers can come and go without having to have somebody there opening the gate and doing those things. So most of the things, there's a few things there. There was a couple of disappointing misses by the engineers with the power washer and with the welder, and that's the mechanical and electrical engineers on our project, and we've had a lot of discussions around that, but those things are being cleaned up as well. It's going to result in some change orders, but we really only had one change order on this project as well. That was for unsuitable soils for about $9,000. So we've really not had a bunch of change orders. Not going to fuss too much on a $3 million project when you've had $9,000 worth of change orders. That's pretty good. That doesn't happen very often. So we do expect some change orders though coming up here at the next board meeting. I don't want you to be stunned, but there'll be several $1,000s worth of change orders probably when the time comes, but it's all things that's needed. And the good thing about really 3 of them are going to be value added. It's things that just got missed in the project that wasn't put in. There's really one mistake. That is a mistake that shouldn't have probably happened, but we're hoping that we can work around that one some. But other than that, it's, you can live with a value-added change order. You know, that's when you're getting something for it, you can live with those. It's the ones that are mistakes, it's hard to swallow sometimes. And we've had several conversations around that. But you guys know Ross Tarrant's been a good partner for this school district, and I appreciate Peter and Brandy for the work that they do on this. And we got a pay application here tonight of $5,861.01. And my recommendation would be to make that payment.
Okay. Do we have a motion? We have a second. Okay. All in favor? Motion carries.
Ms. Asher's, Ms. Smallwood said yes.
And we've got one small change order here at this time for some data issues. So Peter?
Yeah, correct. This is for additional data and power outlets that were added to the project in 3 different locations. And I'll be happy to answer any questions for you. The total add amount is $3,478. And there was data added to the copy machine. There were some outlets added in the training room. And then there was some power added to the service bay area for some welding equipment.
Okay.
The total change order is $3,478.80, and my recommendation is that we approve those change orders.
We have a motion. Okay. We have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Please note, Ms. Smallwood said yes.
Jeremy and I know I jumped on the bus garage change orders. They were okay to take them all 3, or not, I'm sorry, the ATC change orders, to take them all 3 at the same time.
Yes.
One motion was fine. Okay, just want to make sure. I knew we talked about it on the bus garage. We talked about it on the bus garage, but I hadn't really talked to you about the ATC orders, but one motion for all 3 still.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, we have an update from the high school project.
Yes, so the Estill County High School Phase 7 renovation project, I'm happy to report that design work continues apace. We are working really hard on that. I was here in the district last month in December getting design development documents approved by you guys, and we do expect to have construction documents submitted to you next month. We are getting an updated set of construction documents to Codell, the CM, next Thursday, I think, so they can start looking at it again. And we certainly are hopeful, if you will approve the documents next month, to get final print sets to the CM in March. So we are really pushing forward. That we have a big meeting with the district next week to sort of review those as well. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have on that project at this time.
I had a couple of people that approached me to ask when we were doing this project to make the upgrades to the high school gym, if we would consider as maybe a change order or maybe included in the project to do the electronic basketball goals that raise up electronically because those are stationary that we have?
It's in the project.
So it is in the project. I had a couple people that asked me about that, and I couldn't remember.
Yes, those
So.
are in the project.
That's
The main
perfect.
reason we added those in the project was in the future of it being able to have graduation
Yep.
inside the town.
Yep.
Because right now, they're an eyesore during the graduation ceremony, but they'll be able to be retracted.
All you can do is put flowers on them.
So I actually had a question about, so I know that there was some things we were looking at and then some things we may have had to kind of shoot down due to just not being feasible. The bathrooms are a concern. You know, how we were talking about at the softball field. Obviously, you know, you'd have a community bathroom, but how did I say that correctly? You know, if girls are out there playing or whatever, and you know, I have girls, so you don't know how many times I've had to run them out of the bathroom to get them back out on the field. So that was a concern, you know what I'm saying, just as far as, and I've had some people ask me about that, and I said, well, I'll make sure to mention it at the board meeting, but
Are you talking about at the softball field?
Yeah,
You're talking
yeah.
about having a
That was in the
community,
dugouts.
yes, ma'am. Yes,
community
ma'am. Yeah,
bathroom.
The
Yeah.
one that was in the dugouts? or
Yes,
was it-
yes,
We
ma'am.
took
Yes.
those out.
Yeah, I thought we
Yeah.
had taken those out.
We took those
I
out.
forget exactly, it was gonna be pretty expensive to do that. Was that accurate, or
Yes,
was it just
yes.
not doable? Is that what it was, or?
Yes,
Well, so you all, if you remember, what happened is that we put this project in, and then, of course, KDE really frowns on, there's some KRSs and stuff that really frowns on the paying of athletic projects with facility construction money, bonding for athletic projects. And we started down this road 5 years ago because we discussed this with KD ahead of time. And were told that we could do it. And quite honestly, that's the only way that we ended up getting it approved. We'd had prior approval, and the new branch manager said, well, if we promised you were going to do it, then we're going to do it. But just
Right.
know that we're bending some rules.
Right.
So here is the one thing you can't do to me, and this was his direct statement to me. You've turned in a BG1 that is about $12 million. Don't come back to me later on with a BG1 that has $14 million in it because you've expanded the scope of the athletic projects. So I feel like they're bending over to help us here, so I don't need to do something
Right, I
to them.
understand.
So we did have to make some changes. Now, just know that the restrooms that are at the baseball and softball facilities are actually larger than the restrooms you're going to have at the football facility. So they are actually bigger than what you currently have in the football stadium, which is something that we could not address either because of cost issues.
Right.
So I know it's a concern, but I also know right now they're using porta potties.
Right.
So I think
a big
that's a pretty
upgrade.
good, that's a pretty good trade-off, you know, that they're going to have a restroom that's big enough. But we're still going to have some changes on this project, but, you know, we're going to be right in the $12 million range when it's all said and done, because I feel like that we've given them their word. You're helping us. We're not going to try to go over this. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to bump up $500,000 or something along that line, because we may actually do a few more HVAC upgrades, especially with this CARES Act 2 that's coming down, that is money that's been given to us to upgrade HVAC systems and do some things. We may very well do some things at the high school associated with that, and if we do, we'll add that, and we'll talk Monday in our meeting. But that's sort of where they're at. They're concerned, don't take these athletic projects too far.
I understand.
You know, we're going to approve, because really, if you get right down to it right now, Peter, would you not say that 55 to 60% of this project is athletic facilities?
Yes.
So really, we're pushing the envelope pretty big here. The one thing I can tell everybody, it's going to be absolutely terrific to get what we're getting, because I'm telling you, we might not be getting the A plus, every little thing we wanted, but now I'm telling you, we're right there sitting with a solid A minus, and I'll take an A minus over the D minus that we had. I think it's going to be a pretty good upgrade. And of course, we got Codell on that project as well, so they'll be there helping make sure to protect that contingency money, because we're going to be dependent upon the contingency money in that project to pay for some of the change orders. Because we had to pull several things out of the project up front, knowing that we're going to put them back on the back end using our contingency money. That's the only way we can make the finances work. So that's that. I don't know if there's anybody else.
I just had one more question that was brought to me, was will there be any type of cosmetic improvement to the concession stand that's in the gym?
I don't believe that's a part of the project at this time.
Anything we need to do in that, we'll have to do in-house. Our maintenance guys will have to get in there. And I mean, that's not something that's out of the question, but we can spend maintenance dollars to do that.
Okay.
And it does need to be.
It does.
There needs to be some cabinetry put in there.
Yes.
And it needs to be done nice, because right now it's a hodgepodge of a bunch of.
Yes. And it's embarrassing.
I'm gonna be nice, I started to say the C word, but it's a hodgepodge of a bunch of stuff that needs to be fixed.
So we can put that on our list for maintenance.
Yeah, maintenance will be able to help us with some of that. You can see our maintenance group, they're fantastic. As you know.
Yes,
They're the ones
absolutely.
that's removing this gym floor out here, which saved us a ton of money. So we can get maintenance on that concession stand. It does need work, big time.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? Great, thank you all so much. I appreciate your time.
Under budget and ahead of time.
Yeah, if it's under budget, that means we got more money to spend on our
That's
alternates.
right.
I will address two
No pressure,
questions.
Peter.
We had two questions submitted this afternoon about facilities. One of those questions was about South Irvin. South Irvin has a 16-year bond left on it for payment. So that facility will be there for the next 16 years. It's not going to be closing. And as a matter of fact, there's been a lot of work done on that facility, and it's a great facility. So South Irvin is going to remain one of the facilities of this school district for the next 16 years. There was also a question about the gym roof out here, and there was an indication that it was an asphalt roof, and it's not an asphalt roof. It is sort of a spray-on foam roof that's on top of that gym, and that roof is scheduled to be replaced by 2023, that part of the roof. The rest of the central office was done last year. That gym will be redone at that time. So that's just to answer those two questions.
Okay.
No action on that.
So, moving along, we have BG5 information on Springs roof project and the land purchase.
We have already approved the BG5 on the Estill Springs and the roof project.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank
See you,
you.
Jeremy, appreciate it.
And we're getting ready to finalize those, and we'll be submitting the paperwork to the state, but you all approved that. Tammy, of course, you and Carrie wasn't here, but those was approved probably back last fall sometime. So we'll get that, and Peter and I have already discussed the land purchase. We'll need to do a BG5 closeout on it, and we'll be doing that. Just trying to let you all know that we're trying to finalize these projects as we go so that they're not left open at KDE. If we get the bus garage done in June, it should be done probably sometime July, August, to get it closed out. I'd like to get them closed out because we don't need a ton of projects sitting there open. We need to just get them closed. I know Artie frowns on that because, sitting there doing our audit when you got those projects open, and he's been on to us before, and I'd say that was one of the topics of conversation that you had with Angie during this audit. So we'll get those closed out here next little bit and get them cleaned up. I'd like to get them all cleaned up and not have them hanging over anybody's head here by 2023.
All right. Does anybody have any other comments about those updates? Okay, we're moving right along to finance and budget. I guess that's where you come in.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Artie, for being with us tonight.
I appreciate you all. Thank you, Mr. Saylor, and the board for allowing us to do your audit again this year. Wow, just listening to this, you know, I drive by here and I go all the time through here, and I look and I say, look at all these projects going on here. So we got the high
Thanks, Peter. I
school, we got
appreciate
the bus garage.
Thank you, buddy.
ATC Center, which is fantastic. So, yeah, you all have that. And I've just noticed, and I do so many school districts, and there's so much building going on. There's ATC Center in Martin County. It's new high school. It's just beautiful. There's new high schools everywhere. It's just amazing what's going on in Eastern Kentucky. And I love working in Eastern Kentucky. Obviously, I grew up in Powell. And every time I see that, when you all had that gym in there, I grew up, my father was superintendent while I was in school. And every time I see the high school out here, the same architect built Powell one as they did Estill. Estill was the early 70s, and ours was just right after that. It was exactly the same thing. So every time I see it, I say, oh, it's just like something I've seen before. So I keep remembering that's the exact same gym. So, yeah, you all had amazing some of the things. You had $7.9 million bonds. What's amazing to that is the grants that you got. That money comes to you. You don't have to pay it back. I mean, that's I think that's happened in a couple of places. But I remember Rockcastle County one time had their ATC Center, and I remember they had a lot of jealousy with a lot of neighboring county, Madison being one. They got $10 million appropriated by the legislature, and that's been quite a while ago. So that's fantastic. You got that. So that's $9.7 million in grants. Another thing that I noticed, I'm just going over some of the highlights that I've noticed when doing your audit, is your capital lease. A lot of school districts do a lot of borrowing on their vehicles. Here you did, but you don't have a whole lot. Matter of fact, you just got 2 more years left on it. And I got a reason for that, because I've got a thing I'm going to go over here just a second with you. And you only had $84,000 left, which is a 2-year payment out. Also, too, if you remember, you had what we call a Kentucky School Board's Insurance Trust, where they went under and you had to pay that back, where it was underfunded. Actually, you paid that off this year, so that's going to be $50,000 plus that you're going to save in your new budget that you're not going to have anymore. So that's good news. You finally got rid of that. Some schools got hit extremely hard on that. I've got some that's got many years left. So, and I had some that hardly had any. So it's good to see that that's going to be freed up too. One thing that I want to thank before I go on anymore is the financial staff in the schools. Angie did, I did an excellent job in the audit, and you'll see in just a second. One thing that I will say, everybody has jobs to do and everybody has timelines. Our deadline is November the 15th to have this into the Department of Education. And one thing that I notice, and I understand it, and a lot of I don't go around to my staff and say, be easy on people. You got to get your job done, because everybody's got their job and everybody's got their deadline. One thing I do, I feel bad for Angie. She had one person that was excellent, LaDonna, that retired at the end of the year, then replaced, and then that person at the end decided not to take the job, and then they hired another person, which they've got an excellent position. It's put her behind. Auditing, one thing that I will say, I try to make my people as efficient as possible, but they will wear you out with information, email constantly, and you still got to do your job, and you got to allocate that time to do it, and you still got a family, you still got to do stuff, and you got a time period to do it. So I do understand the difficult time she had this fall, but I appreciate her hard work, as well as the rest of the financial staff. So I just want to make her aware. She's not here, of course, probably watching, but we appreciate her hard work. If you want to just look at a summary of how you did in the audit, you can look on page 82. That summary, instead of going through all this accounting jargon, that basically those bottom 2 lines are probably the most important thing that you'll see. It says no findings at the financial statement or federal program level. And what that means is if we find a compliance problem with any of the requirements that you have from local, state, federal, obviously your policies and procedures, if we find anything that was significant enough to actually mention here, you'd have to have a corrective action plan. Obviously, when we go into a school district, we don't expect to see that. Obviously, there is a whole lot to that. And one thing that I noticed about this school district, there is a standard of how we pick federal programs. This year you had the food and nutrition clusters, the school lunch, and also you had the special education cluster. So you had some significant federal programs that we looked at for compliance. They did an excellent job. So we like to point that out. So there was actually nothing there that we actually have to have a corrective action plan. So the audit was actually really good. The other thing I want you to look at on page 84 through 85 is a management letter. A management letter is actually where it's not significant enough to actually be a finding in the audit report. Even though it is in the bound audit report, it's still to management. We put it in there simply because the Department of Education, they want it. And if you send it separately from the audit, sometimes they misplace it and they ask for it back. So we just put it in the bound copy. You'll see that they are all school activity related. They're insignificant, but it's things that we always like to point out. And the reason for that is when we do an audit, we do risk assessment because we don't check 100% of the population of transactions. We don't have time. It's ridiculous. That's what you all do every single day. So we actually take a sample, and what we do and how we do it is we assess risk. The highest risk in a school district is school activity accounts. The reason is it's decentralized. It's not accounted for in the district's finances, and it's done at each individual school. And at one point in time, one person has control of both the books and the money. And if everybody's not doing their job, there's a problem. So that's the reason. Now, we really check that. It is the highest audit risk. So, sometimes it doesn't, having those things are just basically reminders. We're looking at it. And so they did actually, you have always done a really good job. A whole lot better in a lot of schools that I go to. That is very significant, and we're glad that they do such a good job. The last thing I want to do, I want to put my glasses on, trying to keep them from fogging up. I want you to look just real quick, and this is not picking on you all at all. I've gone through all my school districts this year, and I've done the exact same thing. And the reason I'm doing this is because you all have a fiscal responsibility. Just like at the beginning, you all have a lot of responsibility, and you're all basically doing it for nothing as a public service to the community. So when you have that fiscal responsibility, this is not something that you're mandated to do, but here's what I think. At least the goal of a board from a fiscal standpoint is, especially in the general fund, is try or set as a goal to budget and live within your current year revenues. That should be the goal of every school district. Doesn't mean you can't. That's what a fund balance is for. So when you see the words fund balance, you see a lot of money there. Ever since Estill County School District has existed, that's the money it's accumulated. Ever since it's formed, that's that money that's always been there. Where that money's at is insignificant. It's not really. It's just if you can control your budget, doesn't matter if it's $100,000. Now, one thing that you are required by the Department of Education, have at least a 2% budget contingency. So they include that balance in that beginning. So it's up to the board on how they do that. So just to show you how you did in this audit year, which you've already started on the next fiscal year, start with the draft budget in January, you keep right on going to the tentative working budget, and right on through the year and finalize with the general budget when you adopt a tax rate. But if you'll look on page 15 real quick, And basically, this is exactly in a summary form, exactly what you all do when you adopt a budget. And I'm going to concentrate only on the general fund, the very first column. And there are just a couple of little items I'm just going to point out to you. If you look the third line from the bottom, you'll see net change in fund balance. And you'll see that the number in parentheses, 181, almost 182,000. That means the expenditures exceeded the revenues by that amount. Then you say, well, why? And that's kind of what I'm going to explain to you. If you take that 182,000, you'll see right up above it, it says operating transfers in. And there's a 204,000. You all had expended money in a construction project and they're reimbursing you for it. So that money's not going to be there next year. You kind of see what I'm saying? So that 204, actually, if you take that off, how you realistically next year you can kind of view it, it would, expenditures would exceed another 204,000, which would make it 386. But as I started out, the Kisbit, obviously, is not going to be there next year. That's 50,000 that will be added to the budget. And then in 2 years, you're going to add another $40,000+ when you pay off your bonds on your vehicles. So you could rebond it. I'm not saying it. I'm just kind of getting in your mind kind of how it all works. So if you look at that, your expenditures exceed your revenues predominantly at about $300,000. Doesn't mean that's wrong, just be aware of it. So that's like a little tool as you all go through the budget process to think about. How does that relate for fiscal responsibility? Doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's, but at least that's one little bitty tool. You can be specific and go say, what's utility tax going to bring in? What's going to do this, whatever. So every decision you make from a revenue standpoint, do I take the 4% on the property tax or don't I take the 4%? You know, the revenue will be what it is. What's the ADA on the 10th month? This is what it's going to be in the seat calculation. So you're stuck with the revenue, so the expenditures is what you control. Sometimes you can't control it because you want to extend it 1 or 2 years. You do it by attrition, change it. You can consolidate, whatever it takes. But that's just one little tool, not having to be here every single day and know everything about it that you could possibly use. So I'm not using this as a negative or anything. I could be very positive, just as long as you use that. So I usually go with that with the board, just kind of give a useful use of the audit report. Because there's not a whole lot in here that you actually can use, but that's over and above what I do anyway. But I'm just basically hired by the board. I report to you to make sure that the management, Mr. Saylor and his staff, is doing what they're supposed to do as it regards to all the statutes and requirements that he has, and he is doing that. And so, very good audit. We appreciate the opportunity to actually sit down and work with your people. They're excellent. The school district is a really good school district. I love watching the district and how it's improving itself and its its facilities. So, again, I appreciate it. You all have any questions that you might have to throw at me? I'd be happy to answer any that you might have.
I think Tammy and Carrie, one thing that you guys need to know that we made the decision as a board to address some of these one-time issues. So there's a lot of one-time expenditures that was in this budget. For instance, the window replacement in this office that we did as a maintenance project was a one-time spend. The work that right now that we've done in the gym out here with the new windows in the gym, the painting of the gym. So we decided to take on a lot of one-time expenditures. Well, that's done one time and then they're gone. And that sort of explains a little bit why you're showing more expenditures perhaps than what money that you're taking in as well. Would account for some of that, just so you all will know. I think we started last year with our carryover. Last year was $1.9 million. And like I said, we knew we were going to spend some one-time money. So that's why we ended up with this budget, 1.781 million was our beginning balance.
Yeah.
which is what showed up in the audit. And by the time you look at that, I mean, you're talking about $180,000. And I can pretty much take you down the list of things that were done at different facilities that said, hey, this is where that money went to. I can take you through those one-time projects this year, you know, like the gym, the roof on the new maintenance or the maintenance building at Estill Springs that is being renovated and redone. So a lot of money being spent on facility upkeep. And the last thing I would add in Artie's budget, so that you'll know, the debt service that he was talking about is for school buses that was bought 10 years ago in this district that they were financed. And that's one of the things, of course, none of you all were sitting here 6 years ago, but that's one of the things I promised the board I'd never do.
And we haven't.
You have to pay your bills up front. My daddy said, oh, no, man, nothing. Now, somebody's gonna use that against me because we've got a lot of facility. You know, we're gonna have facility debt. When we're through here 2 years from now, or I'm through here at the end of my second contract, we're gonna have a lot of facility debt. We've done $36 million. Yes, sir.
Ms. Smallwood asked, as a community, are we going to be able to rent out the central office gym, bring back in revenue?
We have not been renting facilities, especially right now during COVID. You know, there's some things that we have rented facilities for in the past. We've not done a lot of facility renting, though, in the last 6 years.
But I think
Yeah.
we'll still probably continue to partner with Kiwanis and for
Yeah,
the
that-
community basketball league.
That's right. That facility is mainly, the big part of that facility is, it's used for the community. We don't charge the Mushroom Festival to use that facility. We don't charge the Christmas Bazaar to use that community, if it's community related. But now the one thing that we've cut out is we used to have a lot of individuals come in here and they'd run basketball tournaments and do that type of stuff, and basically they'd use our facility and they'd pay $100 rent, take in $5,000 or $6,000, and out of town they'd go. And we've really stopped that. We have stopped allowing individuals to make money off of us by using our facilities. That's not what the taxpayers meant to do. I don't believe that nobody should be able to come in here, sell $3,000 or $4,000 worth of admission to a tournament, and it's not going to our kids. I don't have a bit of problem if our boosters are doing something, they can use our facilities, but when you got an outside person coming in and they're running that for personal gain, matter of fact, I believe that's right in board policy. Board policy doesn't allow that to happen. That'd be like a teacher that would be using a computer lab to teach computer classes at night and charging everybody $25 to come to the class. You can't do that. So we've cut out a lot of that renting of facilities just because it really leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth.
Also, what about the liability part?
Well, there is a lot of liability that goes along with that. You know, they can obtain an insurance policy. Kiwanis does, you know, the Mushroom Festival does, that covers them while they're using that facility. But I think that any person that uses our facilities, or at least my philosophy has been, if they use our facilities, number one, the money either needs to be going to the community or it needs to be going to our kids. And if it's not going to those two places, we're not letting them in the facility. And that happened, first year I was here, I had to cancel 2 or 3 events where we had individuals that was using our facility, charging to sell items, and they were pocketing the money. And it just doesn't need to happen. That leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth when that happens. So it's just one of those things that we've not done.
I think Terry's talking about like birthday parties and stuff like that.
We honestly don't charge for birthday parties. We ask them if they'll clean up. We leave that up to our, you know,
See, I know you
usually
said
what's
as long as
happened.
a school employee was there.
Yeah, if a school employee's there, we let them use the facility. You know, I mean, I don't believe that I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but my honest opinion is, it's a pretty hard sell to charge somebody $100 to use a school facility when they just got through paying a bunch of property tax to help pay for the improvements that was done on the facility. So as long as they can help offset the cost in terms of cleanup and stuff like that, we've not charged people to do that. We rarely charge anything, and I know Dickie used to be in charge of that before he left here, and there was not a lot of times that there was people that was paying rent, was there, Felicia, that I can remember? And maybe I'm out of the loop.
I don't think they've done birthday parties for a while.
Yeah, we've not charged for them, and I think what's happened, a lot of times that goes through the principals, you know, if there's, you know, somebody's wanting to do a birthday party and one of the teachers knows them and they stay with them, we don't fool with that. That we try to be user-friendly without somebody taking advantage of us is what we tried to do. Now with COVID right now, we can't be renting anything. And I'm gonna tell you, that's gonna remain that way. Guys, we're gonna be able to get kids back in school full-time here pretty quick. I believe sometime even this school year, we'll be back in full-time, especially at the elementary level and stuff like that. But now we're still gonna see restrictions for COVID in the next fall and into the spring. I think they're gonna be relaxed as the vaccine gets out there. There's gonna be a lot more relaxed in terms of what those restrictions are gonna be, but we're still gonna have a lot of restrictions on facility use. But I know that gets beyond what Artie was here for, but we've tried to do a lot of one-time expenditures, and I was talking about those school buses. We don't buy things on credit. And like I said, somebody may say, well, Mr. Saylor, you said you don't buy things on credit. You just did $36 million worth of building projects, and you've got $25 million bonded. Well, you're not gonna have anything. Most people don't have a house unless they got a mortgage. How many people you know go out and pay $200,000 cash for a house? That's the one thing, a mortgage, and that's what bonding is. We basically have a 20-year mortgage, is that not right, Artie?
Sure.
On those facilities, and that's what you look at. In order to do big projects, you have to pay for them. But I think it's criminal. I really do. I think it's criminal to buy a school bus and do it on credit. Because basically you throw away every dime of the reimbursement you get on that bus for the next 10 years. They burn it up in interest. And I didn't pay those off, quite honestly. You know why? Because all the interest was charged in the first 5 or 6 years. We wouldn't save $1,000 by paying off the 40 we owe next year, but that's it. So we try to pay for things as we go. And that's what we'll try to do. We'll try to keep a contingency that's proper, $1.7 million, which is pretty much our contingency. Probably what, about 8%?
Yeah, it's good, yeah.
It's a good contingency.
Mr. Saylor, I just wanted to make sure for our new board members that we have, this is the first time they've been through an audit. This is the first time that we're going to be working on a draft budget for 2022. I just wanted to make sure to see if Tammy or Carrie have any particular questions about the audit, and then we'll get into the draft budget coming up. Okay. No questions? Okay.
We do need a motion to approve the audit report,
Okay.
and that will get us home on this first item.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, Audie.
Thank you, I appreciate you. Thank you,
We
sir.
don't have those BG5s closed out next, you're gonna have to hit the hammer.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you.
my phone keeps going off. I have a patient that's calling me, and I was saying, I'm at a board meeting, so I'm sorry.
No problem. I didn't even hear it.
You didn't? I'm sorry. Okay. So we're ready to move along to our 21 working budget.
Please note the small one voted yes. Did you all vote, or did you just take a,
We did.
We did, yes.
so she voted yes?
The one thing I wanted to do, we approved this working budget, and you all can pull that up on your computer. You can go over and hit on it, and you can pull up the working budget. And Angie, as you guys know, she would be here, but she wasn't able to be here, and we'll leave it at that. If we need to bring Angie back at the next board meeting, she'll be glad to come. It was just better for her not to be here this evening, and you all can read between the lines. So with that being said, we approved this budget back in September, and since then, there's been some changes. And I wanted to point those changes out to you. And again, Carrie, you and Tammy, you have a standing offer that if you want to come and sit down with me, I will be more than happy to go through this budget and try to explain to you all a little bit more in detail about what these different categories are, and in terms of where our money is budgeted. And I think it's important. It is one of the three major duties that you have as a board member, to have an understanding of the budget. And you don't have to be an auditor like Artie, but you need to know in terms of what are the different categories and those things. There's a couple things I want to point to you on this first budget, the general fund budget, and it's the working budget for FY21. You'll notice our tax rates, which is on the very first page, our general property tax was $1,750,000 in the budget. Now remember, why is that amount there and why is it so much more than the year before? Is that we froze the tax rate. Our tax rate was a little bit higher. The actual tax rate for the compensating rate was lower, but the board chose not to lower the tax rate to the compensating rate. We promised the community for 3 years we wouldn't raise taxes. We did not say we would lower taxes. And I will say this, for 2 of the past 3 years, we did lower taxes. You're paying a lot less now. You're paying less now than you were 3 years ago when the nickel passed. So we were able to lower taxes for 2 years. Last year we froze it and kept it the same. Why did we do that? That money right there, that 300, well, it's really, if you look at the difference, you're looking at almost $300,000. That is the money that we used to help finance the high school renovation project. Remember, our bonding potential for right now is only about $7.5 to $8 million. That's a $12 million project. So we had to put almost $200,000 of general fund money into the building fund in order to be able to generate $13 million worth of bonding potential. And that was something that this board set out to do a long time ago. We knew this day was coming. We just didn't know how much money we was going to have to need in order to do the high school project. And you know, you just heard Mr. White mention the grants. If we didn't get the $9.7 million worth of grants, there is no high school renovation project. There's no high school athletic facilities. There's none of those things. So I tell you, the community needs to realize that that $9.7 million that this staff at this school district, this office and school district staff worked on to get that $9.7 million, that's the reason why there's a high school renovation project. It wouldn't have happened without it. So I give them a lot of kudos. You know, I'm here and, you know, sometimes I get a lot of credit, I get a lot of grief. But the bottom line is you're only as good as the team that's behind you, and we've got a good team here working, and that's why we've got that. So I wanted to point that out to you, and you can go down through revenues, and you can see what our total revenue was. Our SEEK money, which is on the other page, you'll see the SEEK program. We got $10,053,559. That's on page 2, right in the center of the page. You'll see revenue from state sources. That's your biggest funding mechanism, is your SEEK dollars. And notice that our SEEK money is lower. Why is our SEEK money lower? Well, because we have had a lot of students that have went to homeschool. And we've also lost students just because of the decline of population in eastern Kentucky. So that is a forecast change. Here's the other issue with that. The big issue was, if you remember, at Christmas, the governor said, we have some extra CARES money. And in order to balance the budget, they balanced it on the back of the SEEK payments. So they reduced our SEEK payment, as you can see, by the $500 and some thousand. But then they turned around and gave us that same amount of money back in CARES Act money. And what we had to do is we had to spend that money by December 31st. Angie gets that notice in December. She has to do some rearranging in order to get that money spent and out of here. I can tell you that money was spent. It was turned in. We've already got the payment back on it. But that's why you see that big decrease, because of that additional CARES Act money. And you've also got that loss of student in there. Although they froze it at the 18-19 level, that's the big reason for that reduction right there, is because of the CARES Act money. A little bitty tiny portion was just loss of student revenue. I will show you where those changes was made. If you'll just thumb through that, and we'll go all the way to page 6. And if you've got that document open, you can go to page 6. And right at the top of page 6, you're going to see the under employee benefits. You're going to see a reduction right there. And that reduction right there under employee benefits that's where she pulled workman's comp out to pay with the CARES Act money. You also go down and you'll see under insurance, you'll see the $77,056.11. Notice the year before it was $290,000. That's because all the insurance was paid with the CARES Act money. It was pulled out, so that's why that number's so low. Don't think that all of a sudden we became magical and we were able to reduce that debt. That's not what happened. It was just paid for through that federal money. And then, as a matter of fact, under that insurance, our fleet insurance was $86,000 paid for with CARES Act, $112,000 worth of property insurance paid for with CARES Act, and then it was about $22 million in legal liability that was paid for through CARES Act. Also, down at the bottom, we saw a reduction right down at the bottom under plant and operations. The fourth item down is $144,000, and that's on purchased items. You'll see that the year before it was $172, this year it was $144. The blacktop for the parking lot here at the central office was paid out of CARES Act money. So that's how we paid for that. But we had to take it off the budget. Just know it shows up somewhere else. And the last big thing I wanted to point out to you was under transportation. If you look at student transportation, under property, which is the next to last item, you see $23,696. Guys, we bought 3 school buses, which was $295,000. We paid for those out of CARES Act. So they don't show up in this budget. And I want you to understand that we did purchase 2 school buses, and it shows up nowhere in that budget. And it makes it look like we didn't do anything. But just know that there was 3 buses that was bought there that we paid for with that federal money. Okay? Here's the important thing. After the audit, we had originally, and if you'll go all the way down to the very end of this, page 8, right down at the very bottom, you'll see contingency. And when we first approved this budget back in September, we had about a $1.5 million contingency. It was a little bit over that. After the audit, we saw that we rolled forward 1.7. We still have a $1.6 million contingency. Now, why is that a little bit lower than the money we carried forward? Again, what are the one-time projects we got this year? Remember, that amount on the front page was $1,781,000. Our contingency is $1,670,000, so we're talking about $110,000. Where'd that $110,000 go? $25,000 for windows, $20,000 to paint that gym. It's gonna be $25,000 on the floor, $35,000 for the maintenance building. Those are one-time maintenance projects that we said that as a board, let's get this facility
Where it needs to
completed.
be.
That was one of the things that I was charged with going into my second four-year term. Let's get these things done. And I'm not saying whoever walks in here 2 years from now, once I'm done, whoever walks in this door, they're not gonna have to worry about central office gym being in a miserable shape. They're not gonna have to worry about air conditioning here at the office or the roof. They're not gonna have to worry about the maintenance shed. Come July, we're gonna have a BG1, we're gonna tear Old Urban down. We're gonna pay cash to do it, we'll tear it down, it'll be gone. We'll do the upgrades to the parking lots at Estill Springs. We've got the cash money in capital outlay that we have saved. You remember the other night when we approved, it was in December when we rescinded the SFCC offer of assistance because it tied up $643,000 worth of cash? That money will be used to pay to tear down Old Urban. So these things are gonna be done. We're not gonna leave something for the next.
And then we'll have leftover money from our VOTEC project that we can use on the high school facility upgrades.
Anything left on the VOTEC project, and just know that you're gonna see some change orders this next time on the ATC, and you're gonna say, God, what in the world's that? And I mean, it's gonna be over $350,000. But we knew that we was gonna use that contingency money. What are we using the contingency money for?
The high school
We
project.
needed to put in a new road
Yeah.
on the middle school. You all saw the new road that they put down on this end. Well, from there up, it's terrible. It's falling apart. There's big chug holes, there's everything. All that's redone. All that mess in behind the middle school, that is the parent loop, they're gonna put a concrete culvert back there to divert all that water. You know, you've been out there at the middle school after a big rain and there's dirt over top of the sidewalks and everything. That's gonna be gone, that's over with. The bus loop is breaking apart. Why is the bus loop breaking apart? Because there's water that stands there. So they're gonna put drainage ditch in there, they're gonna get all the water off there, all that entire bus loop's gonna be redone. That parking lot's gonna be redone, it's in the middle of the parking, in the loop. So all that road work and stuff for $350,000 is a pretty good price. But we've got $500,000 in contingency. And we're gonna have somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000 left unless there's some major problem. And the good thing about that, once this building's on the roof, the major problems are gone. You're probably not gonna have to worry about a major problem. So we'll just convert that money and use it at the high school.
Yeah.
To pay for some of the things that we're right now having to list. The funny thing, if you remember the audit a minute ago, he pointed you out to that one place under capital outlay. If you look back at that, and I forget exactly what page it was on.
Like 15 maybe.
Yeah, it's the one that, yeah, here it is.
15.
Yeah, look at page 15 and look right down there under debt service, the third one. Look it down there and see what it says the fund balance is in that third column. $673,036. That's the money that the state put the clamp on with that SFCC offer of assistance. They froze that money, we couldn't use it. I kept telling you, $600 and some thousand, that's it. So now that money is what we're gonna use to deal with Old Urban.
Okay.
Okay? Any questions about the revenue and the expenditures that's in this working budget?
So, Mr. Saylor, I just want to point out that, I mean, this is a work in progress, and we make changes to it again in May.
In May, well, that's the next budget we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about, it's a draft budget. Yeah, we'll make the changes to
Yeah.
it in May. And then it doesn't become final to September, which is this one right here.
Okay.
And it changes monthly. I mean, if we have to do some type of, a budget modification or something, if it's, and the one thing I will tell you all, if it's not in the budget, we normally don't make a major change. It's items that's in the budget up front. Now, we don't talk about every single line item. That's what you all pay me to do. But, you know, it's also, since I've been here, I think we had a $1.8 million contingency. Right now, it's at 1.6. Yeah, we're down a couple $100,000. But let me just remind you of one thing. 3 years before I got here, this school district had $3.6 million in the bank. And that's in the audit. $3.6 million in the bank. The 3 years after, from that time period until I got here in 2015, we got here and we had 1.8. There was $1.8 million spent in this school district. You didn't see it in school facilities. We were borrowing money to pay for buses. I mean, I'm not here to say nothing was wrong. It was in personnel. It was in personnel. We had personnel falling over top of each other, and it wasn't needed. If you've got 10 additional teachers at $50,000 apiece, that's $500,000 a year. In 3 years, that's $1.5 million. There's your money. It was in personnel. And we've got ample personnel. We don't have any school right now that is hurting for any type of personnel. So I just wanted you, that's this current budget. I'm proud of what this board has done. Over the last 6 years, our board has done a fantastic job managing the budget. So, and I just closed out everything I can do. So I do it every time. But I'll
So
need to go
Brian
back
and
to
Sheila
this.
have been through the budget before, and I just want to make sure that Tammy and Carrie understand terminology, what it means to have contingency, what it means to have bonding potential, because we need to vote on this budget, and I just want to make sure you all are clear and understand what this means.
Yeah, and this particular one here, this is just our current budget, which has already been approved. I just wanted to run through and let you all know that. Donna's right. The next one now, you all got to approve. And it's the draft budget, and really it's in its simplest form right now.
Yeah.
It's in its simplest form right now. It will be a lot more, I guess, pinpointed when we get to May. What's going to happen over the next few months going to allow us to do that? State budget's going to be passed.
Carrie's saying she's lost.
Yeah, it's where he closed out.
I closed out.
Okay.
Give us just a second, Carrie. There we are, Carrie. It's my fault. I closed out the whole thing like a nut. I'm better than my brother. My brother retired 20 years ago or 15 years ago and never had a computer on his desk, so I'm a little better than that. So.
Okay.
But any questions about this budget? I wanted you all to see this budget. And again, if our new members, if you all got some time, you want to come in, you want to go into more detail, I'm more than happy. Because again, that's one of the three pillars is this budget. It's the one thing that will get board members and the superintendent removed in a heartbeat if this isn't right. If we're good with that, we'll move on, Ms. Donna.
All right. So we're up to the approval of the FY22 draft budget.
Yeah, let me get that back down there. Once we, I would close things out. Takes just a minute for me to get there for some reason. It's like it's frozen, but it eventually do. Yeah, let's go to the draft budget, and you all should be able to pull that up here as well. And Jeremy, I have no idea why it's taking so long for this thing. I've clicked on it. It says waiting. It's what we were having trouble with earlier. Waiting on the portal.
Not sure about
I can't even get the agenda to scroll down. It's like my computer is froze right there. I'm froze at finance and budget, it can't get lower.
We've almost replaced every single school bus.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I couldn't get it to move.
I think it's easy. Everybody
It
knows.
won't- the arrow
No
buttons
fleet
won't
of
work as
buses.
good on
I mean,
it.
it's just
Then,
crazy.
Crazy.
plus that is in there.
Okay, sorry about that, guys, and I apologize for the technology issues.
Tech director.
90, well, believe it, 90% of it's self-inflicted. So this draft budget, of course, is going to be based on your current budget. Notice that the amount at the top of the page, the beginning balance, that is your contingency. That's what's in this budget right here, the $1.6 million that we just looked at. That's the money that's your contingency that rolls up there. That is your beginning balance. Now, just know that there's things that, what we did in this budget is we just pretty much rolled everything over. But let me give you some highlights in this budget. I think based on our last couple of meetings, we said our employees deserve a raise. I want you to know right now, there's a 1% raise in this budget. We also, because we don't know what the legislature's doing, we're also showing a decrease in seat. Because from this year to last year, we've had a lot of parents that's went to homeschool. And really, I think it's because, and Tanya's sitting here, a lot of it sometimes is, they didn't want their kids to come to school. They didn't think about the fact that we were really offering remote. They just decided to go do remote on their own. They just wanted to get out on their own. Now, the challenge is going to be for the DPP, and we'll probably have 2 people working with DPP next year. Tanya will continue to work, and as you know, we've made some arrangements or changes as we move forward, and it's going to take us a year and a half to transition into that DPP position as what it will look like even a year from now. But we're going to have to go on the road and get those kids back, because every one of those kids is about $6,000 in seat funding. By the time you take the $4,040 base, by the time you take the add-on, if one of those students is special ed, that's another add-on. And you know, everybody wants to say, oh, it's all about money. You know, you got everybody out here wants to be critical. They want to say something about, well, he's just talking about the money. Well, the bottom line, the money is what runs the school district. And the money is what pays for the positions. So if you lose student enrollment, 100 students for us is $500,000 minimum. And right now, we're down 100 students based on where we ended last year. Now, I believe a lot of them will come back. But what if they don't? So right now, we have to plan that they're not coming back.
And SEEK money, just so everyone is clear, that's the money that we get from the state per child to come to school.
That's exactly right. And it's based on your attendance. Everybody wants to know. We don't work attendance because of money. Because we know that students that attend school do better. They learn more. They're here more often. It's better for them socially, emotionally to be at school. But it does have a financial impact on your school district, your attendance rate is. Thank goodness this county, our parents believe in sending their kids to school. Our attendance rate's over 94% and has been ever since I've been here. And, you know, that's a testament to our former DPP, and I mean, the job that he did, and it's a testament to our parents. They believe in sending their kids to school. So, I mean, that's really huge. But that does have an impact. So you'll notice right now, I've kept the tax rate froze at the $1.75 million. Now, we don't have to discuss tax increases or tax rates right now. But I'm telling you right now that I will not recommend a tax decrease. I will not recommend a tax decrease for us to take the compensating rate. Now, if the compensating rate is more than our current rate, of course we have to do that. But we at least have to freeze the tax rate, in my opinion, where it's at. Based on what the legislature does, you have met your 3-year threshold in terms of the fact that you told the public you wouldn't raise taxes again. We can take a 4% tax rate increase. I will tell you that results in about $90,000 in addition to what's here. But as for right now in this budget, we're saying we're freezing the tax rate. which it's at 53.
And we don't have to make a decision about that.
Well, you don't make a decision about that until July.
Yeah.
It's July. By then, we're going to know. That's why that's so important. They give you the time. It's July. You're going to know what the state budget is. You're going to know how many kids we've got. You're going to know all those things. I just want to point that out to you. If you go all the way down to page 2, you get down to where you see the SEEK and state program SEEK, you'll see that it's been kept the same. You're saying, well, why are you keeping the same? You told us you're losing $500,000. Well, remember, go all the way out to the first column. Remember why the middle column is down $500,000? That was the federal money that was taken out of the budget. So really, in reality, we had 10.5 million in the middle, but remember they gave us federal money and took that SEEK money away. That's why we moved all that stuff out of the budget. So this budget shows a $500,000 decrease in SEEK, and that's because of the 100 students, okay? Now that may change, because I know Senate Bill 177 is the same bill that was passed last spring that said that school districts will be able to use their 18-19 data. If they let us use our 18-19 data, we won't have that big of a decrease. If they don't let us use our 18-19 data, that will have a devastating effect on our budget. So I just letting you know what's in there. Most of the other things, not changed that much, and you'll see that when we get down to the end, by the time we get on to page 4, you will see $17,391,000 in terms of our total receipts. And that's pretty much on par with what you see in column number 2. But remember, column number 2 would be $600,000 higher if that federal money hadn't been given to us. Any questions about revenues in this budget?
I had a question about reimbursement from Medicaid and Medicare for nursing services that we have now.
We will start seeing that number go up, but right now we don't know exactly what that's going to be. And if you look, that is on page 3. Go up to the page before that and you'll see federal reimbursement.
Yeah, I was
And
looking
you'll
at
see
that.
Medicaid, and we've got that froze at 18,000. We expect that, we'll start seeing Medicaid dollars roll in this semester. Now that 18,000 was dollars that we received in the past from speech alone. Now we're gonna see dollars roll in for our nursing services, our counseling services. And that had an impact on our budget this past year too, because in order for those individuals to be able to bill for Medicare, they can't be paid out of federal dollars. So like for instance, our 2 school psychologists, we used to pay for them out of special ed dollars. We had to move them to general fund. We had to move our counselor, our LPCEC counselor, our new counselor. We had to move her to general fund. If you don't move them to general fund, they can't bill. Our nurses have to be paid out of general fund or they can't bill. So you don't want to do something to you that's going to bootstrap you somewhere else. So we've had to make some of those switches, but we've been able to do that. We had a very productive meeting sometime around September in my office where Felicia and LaDonna and Angie and Lisa and everybody was there from all these programs talking about where people was paid from. That's probably one of the most productive meetings in the 6 years I've been here. That we actually got everybody in the same room and everybody was on the same page when we sort of walked out there in terms of how everybody's being paid. Now, can we make improvements with that process? Yes, but that was a big, I think a big factor for us to get that right. But you could see some money come in from federal reimbursement. But guys, really and truthfully, money doesn't grow on trees. That's true in school districts. You're going to get paid on the number of students you got. That doesn't change. You're going to get paid based on the tax rate you set. That doesn't change. So all this revenue stuff, the only thing that we've got to play with is the federal reimbursements for Medicare. One thing that's going to hit us here is that we've got some interest money in there. We were earning interest on all of this construction money. But guess what's happening? We're paying out all that construction money. So you're gonna see the amount of money we get from interest at the bank, it's gonna go down.
A lot of people don't understand that there are different pots of money that can only be used for certain things, just like our nickel tax money could
Right.
only be used for facilities. It couldn't be used for salaries and employees and things such as that.
Exactly. This is just general fund revenues. What you're approving in this draft budget is just the general fund. Doesn't include food service, does not include special ed, does not include Title I, Title II, Title IV, Title V. You got all those federal programs that we receive money in. You see that we've got about a $19 million budget, $17 to $19 million from year to year. There's another $7 or $8 million in federal funds. Or Fund 2 programs, you got a lot of state grants. Math achievement, Read to Achieve, Community Ed, all those different state grants is not in this money as well. So if you get money in math achievement, that's the way it's gotta be spent. It's gotta be spent on math achievement. Special ed dollars has to be spent on special ed. Not only does it have to be spent on special ed, then you got maintenance of physical effort that you've got to have. And we're taking a little bit more time tonight because of our 2 new board members, so they'll sort of maybe understand the process a little bit, but it is that all those different funds are different things. Your construction money is in a different fund code. And like I said, when we get to May, Angie will be here then, and we'll get a lot better picture. Yes,
Ms. Smallwood wants to know, eventually when the new center is open, do we receive revenue from school districts that send their students?
no, we receive revenue directly from the state carrier. So the state pays seat payments on those students that attend that facility. It's projected that it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of $80,000 in the budget request that we made to Senate A&R. So that money is paid to the school district, and really it's paid to us, and that money can be used to upkeep the building, it can be used on the bond payments, it can be used any way we choose to do it. If we have a HVAC unit go down, that money can be used to replace that HVAC unit. It's sort of for maintenance and upkeep of that facility, and it's generated by the number of students that go to that facility. And so that's an important thing, that's how we're going to operate that building. Because, you know, we've actually paid the cost. Our board's paid the cost. Our board's going to pay the 20-year bond on that facility. But that money will help offset some of that. Now, $80,000 won't make our bond payment. But you know, you shouldn't expect any major breakdowns or anything the first 5 or 6 years. So we can dump that $80,000 in the capital outlay and help pay our payments. Matter of fact, those first 5 or 6 years, it can be dumped in the capital outlay, and that's our cash requirement that we said we were going to pay on the high school renovation project. So that's a good question, and that's a good find right there. That's something that we want to, and there's all kinds of little things like that, nuances that a lot of people just, again, don't understand. Generally, when you get out here and somebody starts sounding off about budget and they start sounding off about money, honestly, they don't really understand all the different nuances of what's going on. You know, that's one of the big things I got here 6 years ago. Well, somebody had to be doing something. Somebody was doing this, there wasn't nobody doing anything. There wasn't no FBI investigations. There wasn't any of that stuff going on. It was just the fact that there might could have been a little bit more oversight over some things, because if there hadn't been that much personnel that had been hired in the school district, you wouldn't have seen the decrease in revenue that you did. Because when you're spending that much additional money in personnel, that's money that could have been going to do all these other things that was out here. So again, when you hear that, it's generally they're not in the know. There's one thing about it. I hope to retire 2 years from now. And the one thing that will cost me my retirement is doing something that's illegal. It'll cost me. It will cost you all as school board members. You all can be held personally liable for the finances of this school district if you're doing anything that is not within the policies and procedures of this school board. So people's not gonna do that in general. I already told you tonight, where's fraud? It's in your activity accounts. It's in those types of things when you see that. And we know right now, we had a boosters account here 2 years ago. I don't know if you all realize this, but I'll let Tammy and Carrie both know, and it's pretty much public knowledge. Everybody out here talks about it. We had a football boosters account that we had an individual that has been indicted for stealing money from that account. That's where you find fraud. You find fraud in those types of accounts, booster accounts, school activity accounts. That's why he wanted to point out to you all that there was some procedures and stuff that wasn't being done that we need to make sure is done. And Angie's already followed up with those schools. Doesn't mean anybody's doing anything wrong. But if you keep seeing that year after year, if you see the same problem at the same school year after year after year, then the next thing you gotta do is you gotta question, is something funny going on here? So we don't have any of that. As you heard, you had a clean audit. Just notice in each one of these, and I'll sort of let you know real quick, I won't go through this real quick. Page 5, instruction, that's your teaching staff. Student support services, 2,100. That is counselors and those and usually we have this and we don't have them tonight. You got instructional support staff like attendance and those types of things. Now notice in the very first line item of each one of those, let's take for instance in 2,100, this year we spent 832,000. Next year it's at 934. That's got to do with the 1% raise. It's in the budget. It's also got to do with the fact that we had to move somebody else in there because of those changes we was talking about in billing. But you go all the way down there, instructional staff, district administration, that's my office. School administration, that's your principals. Business support services, that's got a lot to do with it's got a lot to do with all your support, like your finance people, those type of people. Are located there. Plant and maintenance operations, you see that amount. And notice that we, if you look, it's the very top line of page 7, you'll see that the overall budget for maintenance and operations right now, we've taken down about $170,000. Why did we do that? A lot of these one-time projects are going away. You know, we've done them. We don't need the money in the budget any longer. Transportation.
We gotta make sure we include the concession stand.
In the renovation, yeah, we'll do that. I'll make sure that, I'll tell Todd. Matter of fact, there's no reason, they're not gonna be working, and there's no reason that we can't do that over the summer and have it ready.
New
Maintenance,
cabinetry, new paint.
gym, concession. And that's not a lot of money, to be honest, guys. We'll get that done. But you see student transportation, now why is it up? Remember, we took the buses out, paid for it with federal money, that's in the middle column. Notice we've got 2 buses back in there. That's the $150,000 there in the property.
And that's gonna completely redo our fleet.
That will give us 20 buses, which means that we've replaced 2/3 of our buses in 6 years. We probably, it's possible the following year, we could take a year off if we want to. We'll have that conversation. I think what you should do, and with your transportation, you should take, how many buses do you run a day? And we run about 31 or 32 buses a day with our handicap buses. If you take that and divide it by, you can divide it by 10, which that's what the state usually has. You're paid 10 years. If a bus costs us $95,000, over the next 10 years, we pay for that bus right now. But over the next 10 years, you're going to get back $95,000. They reimburse you the whole price of that bus over 10 years. Then they give you 4 additional years, which means you'll get about another $25,000 towards that bus. That's to pay for maintenance and upkeep. After 14 years, you get nothing for that bus. So every time you change a part on it, if you change an engine on it, you change a transmission on it, it's coming out of the board money. And we quit doing that. When I got here, we said, absolutely not. If it's 14 years old, we're gonna park it.
If it had a white top.
Well, no, how many did we have that didn't have a white top? I mean, it is unreal. Now every bus has got a white top. That tells you your bus fleet's
Yeah.
improved. Notice that we only put $150,000 in there. That's for 2 buses. Remember, we got a $45,000 grant from the Volkswagen grant that pays for half of one of those buses. Now, you know why we couldn't get no more money? We already got rid of all the buses that had to be 2001 or older to use. We only had 1. So that's all we could use. Now, I think there's gonna be additional money and they may bump it up and let us use some more. If they do, that's fine. We need to, if we can get a bus for $50,000, we need to buy all of them we can next year. But we'll just have to see how that sort of goes. That's something to be looking out for in the legislation. Of course, I'm doing that. But that just goes to show you that we've got 2 buses there. That's down a little bit. If you really look at that, that's down $150,000 total. Food service, again, remember, there's some people we pay in food service like lunchroom monitors, and we pay people for teachers that have to have a duty-free lunch and stuff. There's some people there that we pay. We're not gonna be purchasing no more land. We've got enough land now. We don't have any land improvements. And you'll see our debt service. That's the buses that we owe on. I've been paying for those buses ever since we've got here. This is it. That's the last payment next year. That's $43,000 we can use to pay for something else the following year. And then you'll see fund transfers. I'm trying to remember exactly what that is. And I'm drawing a total blank. If you all want to come back, and I'll get Angie. I'm sure Angie's probably watching. I'll let her come back and tell you what that 5,200 is, that fund transfer, because I've drawn an absolute blank on it. Yeah, just ask her maybe what that fund transfer is in 5,200, what that is. But you can see that, now here's the dig. We've done all this. Look at our contingency. It's down to $1 million. That's a decrease of $600,000. Remember what I told you right off the bat with student revenue? We're right now showing $500,000 less in student revenue. That's your contingency. Now, is $1 million contingency bad? No, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 5%.
That's all.
Yes.
That is for kits and one-to-one.
Kits and one-to-one. That's all of our computer money that's coming back in. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
But we have areas that we may have more money that'll come in.
That's right, we just don't know right now.
We just don't know, so,
Right.
because I really feel better if we have 1.5, 1.6.
I would feel a lot better at 1.5.
Yeah.
We honestly, when I first got here, we tried to freeze it at 1.8. And then after a couple of years, the board changed and we got to talking about, and listen, we needed to do some things, guys. It's just simple little things like painting that caboose out there that looked like something that had been sitting in the rail yard for 50 years. It was an eyesore. We needed to spend some money. If you've got $1.5 million in the bank or $1.6 million in the bank, and students don't have what they need, or if we don't have first-class facilities, or we don't have something our community can be proud of, what good is the money sitting in the bank? But I do not feel comfortable at $1 million.
Yeah.
But just know right now we're at $1 million because we're showing over 500,000 lost money in SEEK. But this is just the beginning thing. I'd go ahead and ask you to approve it. If we had $1 million, if that's what we ended up with and our employees got a raise, you know, we could live with it. I don't think you're gonna have to live with it. But for right now, you've got to meet the state requirement that you pass a draft budget this board meeting. And my recommendation would be that you all pass that budget. Now, if you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
And they may go on the 2018-19 SEEK money, right?
Oh, yes, if they do that, then we're
And we're
home free.
good.
We're home free.
Okay. Okay, so we need a motion to approve the draft budget.
I'll make the motion to approve the budget.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second with Ms. Sheila. All in favor? Any opposed?
Ms. Smallwood, voted yes.
This next document, I put it in here for you all, basically for your information. What are the other things that's in the budget? And if you open that, you will see, let me see if I can get that. Jeremy, can you open for him as well?
This is all the
Nice.
programs that we talked about earlier.
This is all the different programs that plays into that. I want you to sort of have these figures in front of you. And I thought, I've got it right here for you. It's taken. There it is. Just some different things. Just letting you all know some of the state grants we've got. And you see there, we've got the Math Achievement Grant. Now, this may be the very well the last year of the Math Achievement Grant. Community Education Grant, we've got an Extended School Services Grant that is part of your Flex Focus money, your Frisky money, all your Family Resource Center people, Gifted and Talented is a pool of money that the district receives. State preschool, you can see now state preschool money has went down. One of the reasons is how preschools are being funded. But I tell you what, guys, we've got a fantastic partner in Community Action Council out of Lexington. I mean, they are absolutely fantastic. And the other day, I mean, they called us and said, listen, Mr. Shuttle, we have some additional money for technology. We'd like to amend your agreement for this year. And they sent us additional money to provide for computers and additional support for preschool and Head Start kids. They're absolutely fantastic. I was really worried when Kentucky River Foothills went away. And everybody talked about, you know, you had all this scary stuff out here about Community Action Council. I can tell you that's the furthest thing from the truth. They are fantastic, and they're a good partner. And John and them was a good partner at Kentucky River Foothills. But now it's still one of those things that they've been a good partner. Industry certifications is going to go down because of just the fact of the way our kids are not able to be in school. You got a Safe Schools grant, Read to Achieve grant, you get adult education, and that is going to change this year. We're being told right now by the consortium that we're in, they're not going to fund a 5-day-a-week adult ed program in Estill County. So it's going to have a direct impact on us because we have staff working in that building that we'll have to deal with. Matter of fact, Rebecca's sitting over here right now because of a cut in adult ed last year. So we brought her to the central office because it made sense at the time for us to do that. Then you got your federal grants, guys, and there's a lot of money here tied up with Title I. You've got your special ed, your 2 special ed codes there, the Perkins vocational money, which is really a high school fund. A lot of that money runs through high school. You got Title V, adult ed, there's a federal supplement for adult education. Then you got Gear Up, which is a huge grant that's in its 3rd year next year.
I think you're
I
right.
believe it's either 3rd or 4th. 4, 5, 6, 7. It's in its 4th year because these freshmen right now, they'll graduate and then the 7th grade graduates in year 4. There's 3 years more of that grant. You got your JAGS program, Title II Part A. I just wanted you all to see these, to know how much money we get in each one of these. Now, the good news coming out of some of this is that right now, if you look down at the bottom, 613, we don't know exactly how this money is going to play out. But right now, we've been told that we're going to get $3.7 million through the Federal CARES Act that was just passed in December.
That's what I was with last year.
And that is going to be a game changer as well. That's going to help us. The only thing you got to remember, that's one-time money. So you can't get dependent on that money. You can't say, let's just go out and pay a bunch of people with that money. Well, you can do it one time, but then when the money's gone, there you are, you've got those people. So you've got to be really careful with the one-time money. Now, what they're telling us is that this money can be used for improvements to our HVAC systems. And what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to look beyond COVID. COVID eventually will get under control. I'm not saying it will ever go away. I don't know that it will go away totally ever. There'll still be COVID at some point in time if I understand things right, Don, and you know more about it than I do. I don't think it'll ever totally go away. But some of the improvements that we can make with this money, which HVAC, is going to help us in the future in terms of students with the flu or any other type of thing. We're looking at the intake air in our buildings. So a big portion of that money is going to be spent for HVAC improvements in our schools that we couldn't have done otherwise. I think Todd told me this afternoon that we have a situation where we can actually buy 177 units that will help with the filtration of the air in our classrooms, but those things are about $500 a piece. Now put your math to that and figure out how quick money will be gone.
But is that the only thing it can be used for is
It can,
HVAC?
that's one thing. It can also be used, they're really wanting to look at pinpointing extended school services because they're saying kids are behind, they're going to need extra help. You may need extra people. So we can do some things in
Because
that
I guess
area.
I'm just a little bit concerned about spending all of that money on.
And we've got the 2023, I believe. So we've got 2 years. Let's put this, I think we got to October. We definitely got to October of 22, and I think we got to October of 23.
Well, I guess one of the reasons I'm asking is because there's all of these companies now all of a sudden that have all these air filtration devices and all of these things that are out there, and I just don't know if we want to rush right into that.
Well, no, we're not working with those companies. We're working, and that's a good point. You got everybody in the world that's trying to sell a pig in a poke right now. We're sitting here working with our known partners that we have, like Thermal Equipment, who we handpicked for the Estill Spring job. You know, basically, we're working with them. Like, for instance, right now, we got 3 fresh air units at West Urban that have not worked in 2 years. We've got to get those things online. That's what's bringing fresh air into the building and expelling the other air. The other air is being expelled, but we're not pulling in fresh air. So we need to work on that. So there'll be some money spent there. There's money for technology that's going to be spent. There's some things that we need to do.
I guess my big concern is the kids that are behind in after
Yeah.
school and evening opportunities. I feel like we have got to focus on these kids, and I think facilities are great, and we've spent a large amount of time focusing on that, but we have got to get these kids back
And there's
to
enough money there to do
baseline.
that as well.
What about for summer school?
There could be money for summer school. The one thing that you're gonna have to, the one thing that will be an issue is being able to have enough personnel that wanna work. You know, because, listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, our people are wore out tired. They are. Listen, I feel for our staff, and I know some people think, well, they don't have kids. Listen, it's hard going back and forth. And listen, and I don't pretend, I've told you all before, I feel for our parents and our grandparents. It's hard on them. They've got kids at home, they're having to do the job they've never had to do before. But it's hard on everybody. It's just a pandemic. But you're gonna have a lot of teachers that are tired. You know, they're working every day. Are we gonna be able to get enough people that will work? Are we gonna be able to get enough students that will stay after school or participate in the summer program? You gotta have transportation. That money's gonna be there. And we're gonna look at all those programs. And, you know me, I'll squeeze a dollar as hard as anybody will. We won't just go out and spend $3.7 million. We've got $922,000 this year of relief money. We've still got $300,000 of it left. So we're not just going out and spending money. We've got until October to spend that. Now, it will be gone probably by July. But this is a new pot of money that we're just now looking into. We've not even got the matrix yet that says you can spend it this way. But you're right, you've got students that are behind, you've got HVAC issues that need to be addressed, not only for now, but for the future. You've got maybe additional staff that's got to be looked at, you got technology needs. And see, we can spend this federal money on our technology needs. We've got $125,000 in this year's budget and next year's budget on the one-to-one computers. If we spend this federal money, that's money that will stay in the general fund that will help us towards our fund balance too. That's $250,000 right there that would offset half of the CCLOS if we need to use it that way. So we'll be very diligent as we come up with a budget for that. Of course, I'm gonna share it with you all. I'm gonna ask you all to look at it. I'm gonna ask you to approve it. State's gonna make us do some pinpointed things, but you'll see it. It just won't be done in my office, okay? It'll come to you all. And then, of course, there was some money for last mile internet, but it's been very little. Wasn't $5,000, was it? So it's been very little, but those are just some things, wanted you all to know about those programs, okay? That way you at least are up to date and know what the programs are. And then, of course, E was the CARES Act 2, which we just talked about. And I don't have enough detail right now to tell y'all more than I just told you. But I will have it in February. So that is pretty much a budget overview. And I think we did approve the draft budget, right? We had a vote on that, so that's it for finances and budget, unless y'all have any questions.
Ron, Sheila, do y'all have any questions? Tammy, you have any questions about the budget? Carrie,
Carrie, you good?
you good?
You'll have to take care of it. I didn't even touch it that time. I'm not gonna take the blame on that one. I'll get it. Back to the calendar.
Rebecca, you're gonna have to start sitting up here beside him so you can work the computer for
I need
him.
a mouse. What I need.
That's what I bring
I'm
with
sitting
me
here
all the
shaking
time.
like a leaf. Calendar.
Boss, you got half a mouse, I promise.
Um,
Consider it done, guys.
I just need a mouse next time. And here it is. I know where to go to get it. I'm coming back. Carrie, I'm back. I'm coming. Okay. Hopefully,
All right, so now are we down to consent items?
we are down to consent items.
So we have approval of special board meeting minutes, and you want to go from there?
Yeah, we do have that. I want to get back. I'm trying to get back to the, let me get back to the KSBA thing. We have, of course, our bills. We have our treasury report, payment of bills. Rebecca, did we get a reconciliation report from Angie? So you don't have the bank balance statement, and like I said, there's just been some things going on there. We'll bring back that reconciliation statement next time, usually it's there. You have Project Defender and Work-Based Learning, and that is a group that's a federal grant that allows this group that they can pay $20,000 towards the hiring of personnel if they're a displaced worker. We want to get involved in that. We want to see where that could take us, because there's been some situation, okay, where we need an extra custodian because of COVID, or we need extra bus monitors. If they can pay $20,000 towards that, then they're paying that employee. It allows us to let that employee work. We get to see what type of work ethic they've got. And when the program's over, then we can hire them in the full-time positions if we choose to do so. So, I mean, if we have 4 or 5 positions, that's $100,000 that the district would have for employment services that they would provide. And I know Tanya and I met with them. Tanya, can we add anything else to that?
No, I think we haven't. It's just a good opportunity, COVID related, of course. So,
And everybody goes through the ringer on the background checks and everything, just like if they were a regular employee of our school district, so.
Can we put that on our website?
Yes, we'll have some links that we can link to them.
Because I know there.
We've also got to share with them, once you all approve it tonight, we're going to share with them some job descriptions. So like, for instance, instructional assistants, bus monitors,
Okay.
food service personnel, custodial personnel. We even thought about, who knows, you might have a displaced truck driver or something that doesn't want to be over the road, that might want to come in and get a CDL and drive a bus. You know, and we'll work through that process to get them some job descriptions, to get that out there. And yes, there'll be a link to our website on our jobs site as well.
Would they have any benefits that go along with it?
I think they were paid benefits, weren't they? It's part of the package. Is there some benefits that's involved with that?
Okay.
And I just think it's a good opportunity for us, and listen, if we get one person, that's better than getting nobody. And we'll sort of see how it goes. And then, of course, the 21-22 school calendar, I know you guys might want to look at that calendar. Sheila was on that committee, and as a matter of fact, I know as they sort of came up with this, they actually bumped the start of school back a little bit earlier than what we had originally proposed. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because I think that we need to get our kids back in school as soon as we can. You know, I hope as things go on here that we're able to get back into as much in-person learning as we can here coming up. But also, we've got to make sure that we are ready to go this coming school year. So you'll see that. You'll see that we have approved the calendar. It's got a start date, I think, of August 4th. First day for students is the 5th. It's got our regular breaks in there. We've got a full fall break. We've got 2 weeks for Christmas. We've got a full spring break. I think that's what our employees have usually wanted to do. It's got us out on the 16th of May, and we will use our 10 NTI days that will be approved. You know, a lot of people are questioning, why are we having an NTI day tomorrow? Well, the reason why we're having an NTI day tomorrow is because I told instructional staff not to work tomorrow. I want them working from home. I didn't want them in the buildings. We wanted to clean the buildings and stuff tomorrow. So that's why that's an NTI day. And really, does it really make a difference right now? No. A remote day and an NTI day is really the same, but we're trying to establish everybody getting used to, if it's a snow day, I'll call an NTI day. And I'll say, this is NTI day number 3. And if I say staff report, then they know that they have to come to work. If I just say this is NTI day 3 and I don't say nothing else, they stay home. It's too bad. So we're trying to get used to it, so next year it will be more seamless. But I really believe that we'll be able to finish mid-May next year using those days. So that's our goal, of course, is try to go as many days as we can early on to try to make up for some of the time that's been missed. So I put that in there, consent, for y'all to approve it. And my recommendation is to approve all 4 of those items.
I'll make a motion to approve those items.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
And Carrie voted yes, right?
Carrie
then,
voted
so.
yes. Next, we have our superintendent's report.
Superintendent's report, you've got your notification of personnel actions here over the last few days. Of course, we've got a big retirement coming up here next week, and we hate to see that happening. It probably won't be reported the next time, but we've had several personnel changes here over the last few weeks. I think they've got a lot of people coming in tomorrow. We've got some different things happening in personnel tomorrow, so we'll have a bigger report for y'all next board meeting. The annual conference, and you guys really need to make a decision on this, whether or not you're going to go or not, because the motel that this is being held in is not big enough to hold everybody. So if we want in that motel, we're gonna have to decide now where we can go ahead and get those reservations made. We can register for the conference a little bit later. I think there's a date for that. But usually this is the one that all the board members attend. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. It's in Louisville. It's the Marriott and the Hyatt, I think, are the two motels that are listed. It's actually at the Marriott, I believe. So I think they're using the convention center. Now that the convention center's open, you're gonna see a lot of stuff start going to that convention center.
I'm
And
fine with going to that one.
it's gonna drive the prices down quite a bit. And you can get, if you go and you pretty much stay diligent, you might have to go to a couple of paid things, but you can get all your hours in at one time.
You have to stay focused, and you
Yes.
have to know what categories that you
Yeah.
need, and we can help you with that.
Yeah,
But
Sure.
when you go to a class, you have to stay until the very end. You can't cut out.
and you cut out, you don't get assigned.
You don't get to get credit for it.
So I think, this week, and Rebecca's gonna start taking on these duties here of being your all's liaison. I think you all need to email Rebecca or just say, all right, if the four of you all, if you're in, we'll go ahead and start making the
She already made
reservations.
mine. She already
Have
made
you already
mine.
mine, Rebecca?
I've got you on the list, yeah.
She made mine last week.
And Tammy, so you're saying you're
Yeah,
in?
I'm good.
It's cause what everybody will be looking for, I know it starts early Thursday,
Carrie's
Carrie's,
in too.
Carrie's in. Brian, I know you probably gotta do some checking.
Yeah.
But usually what everybody does is, they'll stay Friday night, and sometimes they don't stay Saturday night, they come on home. But you do get credit for that breakfast the next morning, which is what will push you over. You don't have to stay till Sunday if you don't want to. There's opportunities to pick up some other things, like we've got the regional meeting we can do and stuff like that. But you just need to decide if you're gonna stay Friday and Saturday night. Usually we don't go down Thursday night. I mean, if you felt like you needed to go down Thursday night, if it's too early for you to get there for a 9 o'clock meeting, that's fine. I don't care. We just need to know exactly what you want. So it's one thing, everybody's in, Brian's gotta let us know, but
I usually go down on Thursday and stay in Frankfurt and drive on in.
yeah, and we can take care of that as well. She stays in Frankfurt and then goes on the next day. We can take care of however that, it's a little bit cheaper to stay in Frankfurt, honestly.
It is.
Instead of paying $200 for a motel in downtown Louisville, you pay half of that in Frankfurt, and it's just a 40-minute drive next morning if you want to do that on a Thursday.
That's
So-
what I do. That's what I've done the last 2 years.
So just work with Rebecca, it's very important to do that. And then just some school update and concerns. I sent an email out, just so everybody knows, or I sent social media stuff out today about that I was going to wait until Saturday to make a determination about school for next week. And in all honesty, it was because we had 18 cases that we know that's coming off the list tomorrow. But I can tell you right now, I probably will be able to make that determination tomorrow afternoon because we got 18 cases coming off, but we had 10 go on today. We're at 69, our metric is. And our motive metric says that if we're 50 or higher, we're in remote learning. And I hate it, but thank God we went the first 2 weeks. Because if we hadn't, we wouldn't be back in school. So I will probably move that up. I've told our parents we'll let them know by Saturday. I know I had one person that was sort of upset. The reason why I'm waiting, guys, and I'll just be honest, and I'll tell everybody the reason why I'm waiting is very simple. I want us to be in school Monday if there's any way possible. Our kids need to be in school. So I don't want to sit there. I knew last week, we knew what was coming. We knew we had 18 cases coming. So when it hit 54 on Saturday, I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was going to happen. And you can see today we're at 64.8. So if we take 18 off that, that puts us at 48. That's if we got 0 cases tomorrow, we're barely below 50. So, I mean, if we have 10 or 11 cases tomorrow, there's no way we're gonna be able to go Monday. And I hate that, but I'm telling you, the reason why I'm waiting, and I know Saturday, it sometimes puts a little hardship, but it at least gives everybody 24 hours notice. And by this time, as much as we've been in remote learning, everybody ought to pretty much already have their childcare arrangements and everything, you know that it's there. But now I'm telling you, my goal is if there's any way we can be in school Monday, we're gonna be in school. And we just had COVID shots today, our personnel, we gave over 200 vaccinations today. I want to thank Erica and her staff. They were there giving those shots. They done a fantastic job. They were ready. The health department, what a great partner they were today. I mean, they had all the syringes already pulled. You didn't have to sit there and let them pull it in. They just took the syringes, gave it, and man, you were out of there.
They'll even have to take.
20 minutes, you were out of there. I mean, it was clockwork. So they did a fantastic job, the Estill County Health Department and the Estill County School Nursing staff did a fantastic job today. And we've got a makeup day next week sometime because we had some people that couldn't be there today because of some quarantine issues and stuff. But now, guys, that COVID vaccine was the thing that meant, and probably what's going to need to happen here by the February board meeting, the motive metric's going to have to change. When those second shots, when they hit here, and we're being told that it should be middle of February now, we should have the second shot. At that point in time, we need to quit considering the motive metric on this map. We need to be in school. We need to be on hybrid. We'll let the rate fall. Then we'll get our elementary kids back 4 days a week. We need to try to get everybody back in full-time instruction right after spring break if we can. That's why they moved us up.
We have 3 months of school left.
We have 3 months of school left, and we're talking about another month that's going to be hit and miss here, and I really don't want hit and miss. So I'll tell everybody, I said it on the news, I've been criticized for it and everything else. I'm not a COVID denier. I know that COVID is real, but we have spent thousands of dollars to protect ourselves, protect our employees, protect our kids. Our kids have got to get back in school. And that's going to be my goal. And that's why if I wait till Saturday, it's because I want to go to school Monday. I'll make no bones about it. And if you want to send emails and tell me that I'm a nut, then go ahead and send me the emails. I can erase them and delete them, but I just think it's important for our kids to be in school. And that's why I'm waiting till Saturday. Now, Jeremy, are there any other questions?
Kevin Williams, he just wanted to give a comment. Really enjoy watching and listening on the new official Estill County Sports Network and the NFHS Network, and knowing some of my yearly subscription and time will be returned back to the kids.
Ethan has become a great partner for our school district, WSKB, or WSKB, yeah. I know you get the call letters right down there.
WSKB.
Please get it right.
It's late, Mr.
They have
Sutton.
done a fantastic job. Guys, NFHS, if you've not watched it, Jeremy showed us a little bit of it here tonight. You can go on. Jeremy, can we post one of those videos? Or will it allow us to post it? It won't because it's behind the firewall. But I'm telling you, it's professional. And again, as Kevin said, the money goes to the kids. It does not pay my salary. It doesn't pay the board members' monthly payment. The money goes to the kids. And you can go on there, and if you sign up for NFHS, there's a box that says, if you want to make a donation to the school's athletic program, 100% of the money that is made in that donation goes to the school. So support people that are supporting your school. That money's going back to the school. You've already got banners being bought by our new radio partner in terms of buying advertising banners and supporting our program. That's the people we need to be supporting, and I appreciate Ethan and them for what they do for us. Anything else?
Not in terms of public comment, no, sir.
Good deal.
I'm just going to show a little bit of the video. There we go.
So does any board member have any comments or anything to make before we adjourn?
I just want to say I had the shot this afternoon. That's the least painful shot I've ever had in my life. I mean, it's like, ding, and that's it. Within 2 seconds, you're Band-Aid on your arm. And they're wonderful. We had stations set up, 3 different stations, if I remember correctly, for the nurse to be administered. Then you had, you got your time when you went in, you had to watch your time, and then you go check out, you get your card that you had verified that you had that shot. It is still a wonderful process.
Mr. Saylor, Terry wanted to know, sorry, I didn't mean to change.
That's
How
okay.
many subscriptions?
He wanted to know if we know how many subscriptions we have gotten with the new system.
No, I will get a number on that, I'm
I
not
asked
asking.
Mo, and he was looking at it, but he said we have several, is what he told me.
Once we get, I think the 0 to 99, the school gets $24.95, or $24.99, I believe, of the $70. Once you pass 100, you get half of that. You get $34.99, $35 basically. If you go over another certain amount, then you will even get a bigger percentage of that. And that's the most bang for your buck. I mean, you're basically getting it for $6 a month. You can't go to a game for less than one game a month for less than $6 by the time you.
You had something on there, I think it was yesterday that you posted it on Facebook, and I couldn't figure it out, that the, going to the ball games was going to change.
Yes,
We put the guidance out. Some people was asking when fan attendance would change, and that's what that was. If our COVID number, that's like right now, we're above 60. If we's playing a home game, no fans,
Okay,
no parents, no nothing. It's just players and referee.
okay.
If we're between 30 and 50, parents can come. If we're below 30, we can start selling some tickets to the general
Unless
public.
you get below 30.
That was this
Great.
document right here, and I think those are in the packet, aren't they?
yes, they were on.
Okay.
They're in the packet, so that tells you what we're using, and it also tells the guidance that our players and our teams are following. And then, of course, we got spring sports that are starting to do phase 3 conditioning. It tells what they're having to do as well.
But just to remind everybody, this is a living document, so this may change.
It could change, that's
So
right.
It's not set in stone.
Right now, that is where we're at, and really, we're following KHSAA guidelines right now. They met today. They have already stated that, on the state tournament, that they will be at 15% attendance.
Yeah.
It's gonna be less than 3,000 people in the gym.
Each time will be determined based on our metric. Can we have this posted on maybe each week or each?
If we need to post that document every time we make the announcement, yes.
Confirmation, then make,
Yeah.
that
we
way
can do
people
that.
can understand it more, what's going on based on with our sports program.
We do put that on the website under the COVID-19, so if anybody ever does want to look at it, they can always go to our district website.
And with the sports, yeah.
And I was gonna tell you a minute ago, I think I said something about you staying in a motel in Louisville. I hope not. You'll get to stay in a hotel down there. You won't
I stay
have
at
to
the
drive in.
motel.
I don't want y'all to think we're not going to the Motel 6, okay, so.
So, a question I have, and I've been asked about this, and so obviously we got the camera in the gym now. We got one for the football field and for the gym. So we knew that we were going to have to buy those 2 additional cameras for baseball and softball. So will those possibly be up this year or the following year?
They'll be up next year, because my opinion is that the baseball, softball renovations will start in June, as soon as baseball and softball season is over. Once those facilities are complete, we've already been told we can purchase the cameras.
Okay.
So we've even had some discussions, and I would want to talk to you all about this, but even our middle school has asked, does it make sense to also put a camera in the middle school to where their middle school sports can be broadcast just the same? Now, we'll have to ask the NFHS network if they will allow that to happen, because it is middle school.
One of the things, at any point in time, you can buy as many cameras as you want. Because they'll sell them to you.
How much?
But, $5,000 per camera. But what happened is, to make sure you're remembering, we got these two cameras for free.
Right.
Okay, and then that has taken precedence on, we couldn't go in there right now and physically buy a camera, because they wanted to give it out as part of this grant that they're doing, because of COVID. Once that has run its course, I don't know what the end date is, but once that is in, they're going to go back to their normal model, if you will, at least that's what we've been told. And then we could put one in here if we wanted to, if we want to spend that money. It's really up to us to install.
But it's already in the plans. We've already talked to them as we've talked about these press boxes. You gotta make sure that everything's there that we need.
Right.
That was another big expense on our 3 fields, was we had to run fiber. We had to run fiber optic to those press boxes for those cameras to work. That was a added expense on these projects. So we're trying to do as much first-class stuff as we can.
So before we wrap it up, I just feel like that I would be remiss if we don't close out our board meeting by just telling Ms. Felicia how much we appreciate her and her service to our school district and to our community. And we just wish you all the best and all your dreams to come true in your retirement. And we appreciate you from the bottom of our heart.
Absolutely.
And like I said, you're starting a new branch in your life.
A new branch. And with all of that being said, I think we need a motion to adjourn.
Ms. Small would like to say that yes, she has done an excellent job.
Thank you, Felicia.
Yeah, thank you, Felicia.
And we'll end on that note.
And one more thing, before you leave your last